Welcome back to Zaka Stokvel Insights, where we explore the world of stokvels and burial societies. Before the break, we touched on the current trends in the stokvel space, and now we're going to look at how Baitsusi Investment Group can start their journey of wealth creation through investments. Now, Ndate Masudubele, there are a lot of investment groups that can relate to Baitsusi in terms of just the stagnancy. What really causes that?
I think there are multiple reasons for when groups stagnate. Sometimes it's when groups are trying to collate information and get comfortable with an area that they're looking to get into. So investment is not something that's necessarily that people are familiar with. So people gather all sorts of information, and because they're not familiar with it, it then leads to this other reason, which is doubting. That is something that we want to go into. So for instance, people would say we want to invest in property. We then get hit with COVID, and then the property market sort of goes sideways. And then they look at, oh, maybe that's not what we want to do. But also, over and above the issues of procrastination, there's one issue that we've picked up that holds a lot of groups back. And that's just when you have one or two members who are just not wanting to cooperate with the majority of the groups. So if I can, there's one example of a group in the south of Gauteng where you had, I think, there's 62 members of one group. They wanted to take a particular direction and they made a resolution, I think all 60 of them, bar two members who wanted to take a different direction. And because of the two members who essentially had a veto right, they could not proceed with what they wanted to do, and this lasted for a period of 3 years.
That's a long time.
They wanted to invest in shares, and when they look at the share prices over that period, it had grown to an extent that they would have benefited handsomely, but they weren't able to move on that for 3 years, simply because within the group they had two members which weren't agreeing with them, and that talks to why sometimes a lot of stokvels stagnate.
Now, within those 3 years, there's just no action happening. There's no money being saved. People are just waiting.
So what happens in that 3 years, we'll do our monthly contributions. It goes to the bank, and that's that. So any bold resolutions that we would have taken, when that item comes up on the agenda, there's always an objection. And that objection continues in the meeting to the extent that the only way to stop the meeting is then to defer that discussion to the next meeting. And remember, the meetings happen once a month. So you defer it to the next month. And then the next month, something or the other happens, and then it never happens. So 3 years passes by very quickly. So a lot of the time we see that stagnation where we say to stokvels, sometimes it goes back to the constitution of the group and the collective vision of the group. It clearly means that if there's a member or two members holding the rest of the group back, groups then have to look at, solutions that talk to perhaps asking the other two members, even if they are the founding members, to maybe excuse themselves, because clearly they don't have a shared vision with the group. But people are still stuck on the sentimental aspects. And I think sometimes the sentimental aspect holds back the group and what they want to achieve from an investment point of view. So I know it's a very difficult thing to do, but making tough decisions is also part of the terrain for stokvels, to say they have to get to a point where you say it can't be acceptable that we spend 3 years after having made a resolution, we haven't moved on it because of two members. We then have to make a move to say, if we can't, if they don't want to leave this group, do we form another group with as us, the 60 people, and exclude the other two, and then implement the resolution we would have taken. So it's to look at how to move forward, even though there will always be objections. But, as you run a corporation, if the majority of people would say this is a good idea and they sign off on it, it should be able to be implemented and happen.
Now, the investment group did touch on their need with, assistance in terms of financial management. Now, how do they start this process? Where do they go?
The first place to look at would be to look internally. I think one of the things we've realized is that internally you have what's called committees within stokvels. The process of selecting different members of the committee is very arbitrary in some stokvels. So you look internally to say what are the requirements for someone, you know, who wants to be the chairperson, or we're looking for a chairperson. We're looking for someone who'd head our venture into investing. We're looking for someone who'd help us with administration, being the secretary. You then define what skills and traits that person would require. So if you're looking at people who want to, you know, assist with financial management, once you've developed all the things that you need, the skills, it's almost like what HR does. Say, you're looking to fill a particular post. These are the traits and requirements for that particular post. The group then has to look at internally, do we have that skill? Do we have that capacity? If that skill and capacity is not there, much like what an organization does, it then sources that skill and capacity from outside of the organization. So if they're looking to be assisted with financial management, is one of us someone who's very well versed with financial management issues? Maybe we've not given them an opportunity to lead the group. Now is the chance to say, you tick all these boxes, let's give you an opportunity to assist us with financial management. In the event that internally no such capacity exists, they then look outside and look at what different organizations there are that can help them with financial management.
Well, we're going to take a quick break. Please stay tuned for more on Zaka Stokvel Insights. Are you a member of a stokvel or burial society? We at Tyvision Media specialize in helping stokvels and burial societies. Contact us for professional stokvel and burial society administration, access to investments and funeral cover experts, and credible financial information. We will help your stokvel and burial society to achieve your goals and grow. Contact us today.